Okay, in this short video, I want to just talk to you about consistency and having balanced levels. So this is the combined audio that we just created. It has the music, it has my voice, it has Indrakshi's voice, and it has some more music. Now, with the WAV, you can actually see a difference between things. The bigger the WAV, the louder the sound. The music is quite loud. You have my voice, which is reasonably loud, but then you have Indrakshi, who's a lot more soft-spoken, and then you have big loud music coming in at the end. This wouldn't be particularly pleasant to listen to. What you want to have is certainly with podcasts, you want to have a reasonable equilibrium between the various sounds. Now, I could go into this mixed file and try and adjust things in here, but I have the original project file. It would be much easier to go back to the original project file and adjust things accordingly. I'm going to leave this one open. I'm just going to actually minimize it because we might come back to it in a few minutes and compare it. So this is test podcast. I'm going to reopen this, and here, oh look, hey presto, I have my podcast again. So I thought the overall music volume was a bit too loud. So there's a couple of different ways I can adjust this. I'm going to adjust this kind of globally. I'm going to change the volume of the overall track. So here I have a volume control, and volume, it's set at 0, which is just kind of as it is. I'm going to bring this back to -5, and I'll do the same for the machine music at the end. I'm going to bring that back to -5 as well. I'm going to leave my voice where it is because it's at a reasonable level, but Indrakshi's voice is a lot lower. Even if I play this, have a look at the level.
Welcome to The Machine, a computer science education podcast from the Southeast Technological University of Ireland. My name is Rob O'Connor.
It's sitting somewhere kind of -18, -12, somewhere like that. But if I go to Indrakshi.
Hi everybody, I'm Indrakshi Dey. I head a research division called Programmable Autonomous Systems.
It's just a little bit quieter than my one. So if I select Indrakshi, I've selected that audio, so you could just select it like that, or I just clicked on it there, it selects the whole thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply an effect to this. The effect I'm going to apply is a gain effect or an amplify effect. So if I go to the menu bar, I select effect, volume and compression, amplify. And this is going to say new peak amplitude to 0. I don't want it going all the way to 0. I want it to go to say -5. Let's say so that the peak is -5. If I press apply now, watch what happens to Indrakshi's audio. It's suddenly become bigger. I'm just going to undo that and redo it. Effect, volume compression, amplify. This is set back to 0. If I make this go to 0, watch what happens now. It's much bigger. This now will be much louder than my voice. So I'm going to undo that again, and I'll do amplify, and I'm going to amplify to, I'm going to say -5 because I think that's roughly where it would be at. They look reasonably similar. Actually, I could probably go a little bit higher on Indrakshi's. Amplify to I'd say -3. Okay, that might be a bit better. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of doing this by eye. Obviously you could listen to it and you get a sense as to if things are really loud or things are at an equilibrium, particularly if you're using headphones. And I would recommend you do use headphones for this. The speakers on most laptops aren't particularly good. Headphones will give you a much truer sense as to what the audio is actually like. You don't need to go spending a huge amount on headphones. You just want to have a half decent pair. But you don't need to go spending hundreds on it. I'm going to export this again now. I'm going to go File, Export Audio, exporting a WAV, and this is going to be Test Podcast V3, and that should appear there. I'm going to close that. And then what I'm going to do is we should have, this is Test Podcast V2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Test Podcast V3 beside it. So what we can see here now, this was the version that I hadn't done, the one on top here, this version here. This one is the one that I hadn't done any sound balancing. I just left it as it was, and we see this is quite loud, this is okay, medium loud, and Draxy's quite low here, and then this gets really loud at the end. Whereas if I look at this one here, where I just made some simple adjustments, they now look like they're all reasonably around about the same level. You know, there's a bit of a peak here. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a laugh or something like that. Let's just have a listen and hear and we can see the levels as well. Watch the levels. So I'll just go from the end of the music. Now that's going to be playing the two of them at the same time. So this is a good one as well, actually, to point out. I can mute this track. So I've just pressed mute there. This track is now muted. It won't play. So I'm only going to hear this one.
Welcome to The Machine, a computer science education podcast from the South East Technological University of Ireland. My name is Rob O'Connor, a lecturer from the Department of Computing.
So that's sitting there kind of mostly around about -12. It does jump a little bit around, but around about -12.
A lecturer from the Department of Computing and Mathematics at SETU.
Hi everybody, I'm Indrakshi Dey. I head a research division called Programmable Autonomous Systems at the Walton Institute for Information and Communication System Sciences at Southeast Technological University, Waterford.
Okay. They're not exactly the same. Indrakshi's still a little bit quieter than me, even though the WAVs look similar. My voice is just louder because it's a deeper voice. Male voices are obviously deeper than female voices, but there's a nice equilibrium now between that. So I sometimes I hate it when I'm listening to a podcast and you have one voice that's really loud and another voice that's really soft. Because it's obviously difficult to follow the conversation. So what you want to do is you want to have them roughly at the same level. I mean, we don't speak in blocks, as in perfect volumes. You know, we go up and we go down, and some bits are louder than others. That's to be expected. But yeah, that would be a lot nicer to listen to than this one. So the edited one. So getting consistent volume is obviously a goal for the podcast, for the good podcast producer. And I mean, I found those values fairly quickly. When you're starting out, it mightn't be so easy to know which values are where, but what I would say is a good thing to do is to kind of have an idea. Is that right? I want to get things around about that kind of -18, -20, around about there for most of it. And it'll jump in and around that, and then set things accordingly. And as you play stuff, adjust, play it again, adjust, play it again. You'll find a nice balance.